Hi everyone, welcome back. I'm here today with Alice.
Hi.
Hi.
Excited.
Yeah, we're going to have a good chat about fitness today. So, do you want to go back to the start and tell everyone how you got into health and fitness and your journey into creating content about it online and PTing and everything else, all the other
Yeah.
amazing things that you do?
Okay, long story. So I'm going to keep it quite short. I was training as a dancer at a place called Bird College, and when I went away, I basically, I guess it was one of those things where like I'd never really cooked myself before. And then when I went away to uni, it was like, oh my God, I have total freedom over all my food and I can eat whatever I want. And I just developed quite an unhealthy relationship with food. I was in an environment where it was very aesthetically driven. It was theatre school basically. And so everything is based off how you look. And I constantly felt like I needed to be dieting and therefore did try almost every diet going, and then fell into that kind of like binge restrict cycle that I found really detrimental to my mental and physical health. So I decided enough was enough, and I got to like kind of the end of my first year and thought I'm gonna ditch dieting, and I wanted to set up an Instagram. Well, I didn't even want to set up an Instagram. I decided that I was going to set up a page that was completely private where I could just track what I was eating and develop a better relationship with food. And I think that's really important because it was about loving food again, because I really love eating. I love food, but I kind of lost my love for it and lost my love for my body and everything else that went along with it. And so I started making meals and taking pictures of them. And the whole process helped me to re-find a kind of love for food again, a love for eating, a love for just making good food and enjoying good food that wasn't about being on a diet. It's healthy food, but it wasn't dieting. And then that kind of grew a little bit.
A
And
little bit.
quite a few people became interested in what I was doing. I got my PT qualification about a year later, so started posting some exercise stuff as well, as I developed like a real passion and an interest for female strength training, because I'd previously been like a real cardio bunny and then got into weight training and just absolutely loved it. So that was something that I felt very, very passionate about. And then from there, I have since published 3 best-selling books. I've been on the cover of Women's Health twice. I write a monthly column for Women's Health. I have had my own activewear line with Primark and done all these amazing things that have just been so incredible and that I'm so lucky to have done. But yeah, the rest is kind of history. It's just gone from strength to strength, and I'm just so lucky to be, doing what I'm doing and loving what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's amazing. And I guess I want to ask, what do you think your brand success is down to? Because not like there's a lot of fitness Instagrammers out there. Not everyone goes on to be on the cover of magazines and sell best-selling books.
Yeah.
There's something about you that makes you special. So what do you think that is, and what do you think your business success is down to?
Yeah, and actually I've just recorded another podcast, and I was talking about how as a kid I was always, and growing up, I was always trying to be something else. I went through so many different phases of being a chav, and then being an eater certain ways, and then being like really posh. And I think one of the best things that I did when I started blogging was that I really felt like I found my own voice, and that I really felt like I found that I could just be myself. It was a space in which I could actually just be honestly, truly myself. And I'd never done that before. I'd always tried to be something else and tried to fit in with everyone else. And suddenly I was being accepted for who I was. And that, having that true and honest voice, being completely and honestly myself, so that it didn't feel like I was ever putting on an act. It was just me, and everything I wrote was just me trying to, show an honest account of what I was actually doing, was the best thing, because I no longer felt like I was being someone else or trying to be someone else. And to this day, that's why I've managed to keep up and I guess continue doing what I do, is because I'm not really doing anything other than just being myself, which is amazing. So I feel so lucky to be doing that. But yeah, I think had I put on like an act, or had I tried to be something that I wasn't, or kind of pretend to be something that I wasn't, I'd have never kept it up until now. So I just think, as like kind of as crazy as it sounds, I think two things. One, I was just myself, and people seem to like that, which I feel really lucky for. And two, I was just in the right place at the right time. And I think so much comes down to just sheer luck sometimes. It just so happens that like my second women's health cover came about because Kourtney Kardashian pulled out, and I was training the editor, and she was like, do you want to be on the cover? It's these crazy things. Like, it was never meant to happen. And it just so happened that they were like, yeah, fine, cool, go on the cover. It's my previous cover had sold really well, and they thought, why not? But, you know, things happen for a reason. And I just think sometimes I've just been that person that's been in the right place at the right time. It doesn't mean that I'm doing anything better than anyone else. It just, for whatever reason, I just seem to be in the right place.
Yeah. I totally get that. And I think social media has allowed people to run successful businesses just by being themselves, like you say, because that authenticity is so valuable online, because people can just see through it if you're putting on an act.
Yeah.
But I do also think as women, we're quick to say like, oh, I was just in the right place at the right time. Like, yes, there is an element of luck to it, but you are obviously showing up online and doing the work. And I think so I'm not calling you out or anything, but I think a lot of hard work has gone into it. So
yeah. And don't get me wrong, like I'm not going to sit here and be like, yeah, it was really easy. It's just like a walk in the park, and it just so happens that I'm really like, I think I'm very successful. No, look, don't get me wrong. I've worked really, really hard. I've gone through times of feeling like total rubbish and wanting to quit. I've had complete like crisis of confidence all the time, like regularly. And also just kind of been quite disillusioned with how the industry has gone. When I first started, it was a totally different place to where it is now. And I've seen that journey and that evolution, and some of it I really don't like. Doesn't mean to say I'm going to stop doing what I'm doing, because I still think it's just as important, if not more important, that I use my platform to have my voice and just to put out the message that I want to put out. But it's a tough world out there, and you've just got to keep plugging away and keep going, because it doesn't matter if only 10 people are listening. That's still someone listening to your voice. And, you know, that's what I kind of think. I think, you know what, I might not be here forever, but even if, you know, 10 years down the line, even if still a few people are listening, I know my message. I know the change and the impact that I want to have, and I'll just keep plugging it, whether people are listening or not.
Yeah, you're awesome. One thing I did want to say on that is, like, you're one of the people who I follow in the health and fitness space, and I don't follow that many fitness people because there's a lot of BS out there. Mm-hmm. You're not afraid to like call people out on it, especially these big companies who are selling like pink packaged weight loss products to young women. You're just like, this is total bullshit, don't buy this.
I think as well, a lot of that comes from the fact that I would have been the one that would have bought into that back in the day. So I know how it feels to be sold a scam and like to buy into that. So for me, it's like it's just protecting that younger audience that are slightly less aware of the kind of the pitfalls of marketing. And I think, as well, you know, you have to find that balance, because I don't always want to be seen as the person that's like, you know, this is rubbish, because I am a really positive person and I generally don't ever, you know, slate anything. But, you know, there is a time and a place when I just think, do you know what, people need to know the truth, and people need to ditch the BS. And I just think as women as well, we're just constantly being sold a diet. We're always being told we need to diet. Like from the moment I left, or even before I left school, everyone's speaking about dieting. Everyone's speaking about like, you know, it was like second plate, like, it's just like the most common thing to talk about. And as women, we always seem to be talking about it. And I just think that's really sad. And I want to try and change that, because I think there's so much more to life than being on a diet, and to thinking that you constantly need to change the way you look.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. Like, I think there's lots of people in this world that can eat healthier, but that's not being on a diet. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're two very different things.
Definitely. That leads us on really nicely then. I wanted to ask you to share your fitness philosophy, and you've obviously already said you're passionate about women getting in the gym, getting under that barbell. Like, just share what you're passionate about and what you really stand for with your content and with your clients.
So I'm really passionate about women weight training, but mainly for physical and mental health benefits. So physical being improved bone strength, increase in muscle mass, which is so key, especially in older women. You know, losing that muscle mass is really can be quite detrimental to their physical health and their ability to move well. Also looking at things like increased metabolism, improved mood, better cognitive function, you know, all of these things that are the benefits of exercise. I think for me, it's about empowering women to realize that they are and can be just as strong as men, physically and mentally and emotionally. You know, I think we've always been seen as the weaker sex, like, you know, like, oh God, they're doing the cardio machines while the men are in the weight section. And I think one of the most empowering things of my journey was being like, hang on a second, I deserve my place in the weight section just as much as any other man, and I'm going to go in there and do it and like own that space. And I did, and that was like 3 years ago, and it felt terrifying then, don't get me wrong, but now look how times have changed. You know, it's so common now for girls to be weight training, and I'd like to think that I'm a very, very small part of the movement that has encouraged girls to be able to do that. I also think like my message is very set apart from like just like losing weight. Like, that's never really been my message. My message is about getting people fit and healthy and strong, to empower them, to kind of like feel like be, like I said, mentally and physically strong. And so like with all my clients, for example, I don't operate by weighing anyone. I don't do any body fat measurements. I don't rely on numbers on scales or body fat percentages to determine someone's health. I go off how they feel. And I think that's quite different for the fitness industry. You know, when I first started, everyone was macro tracking, calorie counting, and everything was about a body fat percentage or a number on a scale, or, you know, weighing less. And shifting the focus for me was so important for both myself and everyone that I follow, so that there's a lot more attention on things like performance-based goals, going off how you feel, having respect for your body. So like things like hormones and time of the month that are just not taken into account with most people. You know, I think all of these things are really, really important, and they very much make up my kind of message and what I want to put out into the world.
Yeah, love that. Going off that then, what advice would you give to any women listening? I've been there, and I totally struggle with it sometimes, focusing just on the scale or just on how they look. What advice would you give them to really shift that mindset to something more positive?
Yeah, I think, you know, like, it's really easy for me to sit here and say, you know, just stop focusing on a number on a scale. If you've spent your whole life weighing yourself and focusing on a number, you can't suddenly just switch that off and think that you're not going to be able to be worried about it. But it is about weaning yourself off. You know, I don't just expect people to wake up one morning and think, I'm never going to weigh myself again, although that can happen. But it is about, you know, if you're weighing yourself every day, think about cutting down to like maybe once a week, and then just weaning yourself off that way. And at the same time, simultaneously setting yourself some better goals. So things like having more performance-based goals. So thinking, okay, well, this month I want to make sure that I am, you know, walking 10,000 steps a day, or I am drinking 2 liters of water every day, or I am able to deadlift. I want to get a PB this month, you know, and then setting those up as the things that you're working towards, so that you have far more tangible goals to work with, rather than just focusing on a number, which, by the way, can change dramatically depending on, you know, the time of day, whether it's that time of the month, whether you've gone to the toilet or not. You know, that number can be so varied. And I just worry that if we pin all our, you know, all our hopes on a holy grail of a number, we're really going to become a cropper.
Yesterday, your app came out with Women's Health, the Women's Health Transform app.
Yeah.
Yeah. So this is a great segue then to share your app, because you have, like, you claim in the magazine when it was released that you're going to change the way women train. So tell us more about the app. Tell us about the 12-week plan that's within the app and why we need to do it, basically.
Yeah.
I want to do it.
So the app was created after I took the editor Claire through a 12-week training program, and it was for the transformation issue. And it was basically getting her to introduce weight training into her lifestyle, because she was a cardio bunny and obsessed with like conditioning and just smashing herself in the gym and actually doing more harm than good. And I think that's definitely something that I notice with a lot of my clients. Sometimes with the best intentions, we're actually doing more harm than good with our exercise. We're trying to be healthy, but actually it's having almost the opposite effect. So exercise isn't always amazing. It's not always good for us. You know, there are times when types of exercise aren't good for us. And there are times when we really shouldn't be exercising as well. But anyway, sorry, that was a real segue. But coming back to what I was talking about, the app. So it was a way of introducing Claire to weight training. And we then came up with the idea that we wanted to give women a program that they were able to follow and have some structure in, that wasn't, you know, there's so much out there now, so many training programs. I can't tell you how many I've gone through and just been like, oh my God, I can't believe people are paying money for this. And I just thought it was time to put something that I just thought was a little bit better out there. You know, there needs to be some structure to strength training, and for many women it's really difficult to know where to start. And so I just wanted to be that kind of pocket personal trainer that they can go to, that they can get a full 12-week program which will give them the confidence and the ability to know what to do in the gym and when, that will give them inspiration for food but not strict diet rules. You know, we don't have any calories, macros or anything in the app. The app is designed to empower women with nutritional knowledge so that they can then go away and make their own decisions about how they want to eat, rather than telling them what they should be eating. And then also things like just general well-being. You know, like in there we've got articles on everything from sleep, stress, hormones, the works, because I think health isn't just about our physical health. And I think that's something that I've come to massively respect over the last few years, is that like there is so much more to it than just our bodies. There's our mind, there's our emotional well-being, there's our sleep, our stress, our recovery, and all of these things deserve respect just as much as our diet and our exercise. So we've really tried to encompass everything into one place. Why do I think women should do it? I think because it will be the kind of the gateway to, I think, hopefully finding a way of training that you really enjoy and giving strength physically to them, that they and in a progressively loaded way, so that they can really see gains, rather than just going to the gym and doing a few squats and leaving and not really seeing any progression with it.
Yeah, I'm so excited to start it.
Yeah, I can't wait either.
We go away next week and I'm like, I just want to get home now so I can go to the gym. So you mentioned overtraining then. Can you talk a bit more about that? Because I think I'm guilty of doing it.
Yeah.
Like just hit workouts, or doing my weights and then just like running on the treadmill just because I feel like I should. Why is that detrimental to women, and a bit more about the hormonal side of things, because that has a huge effect on you. I think we don't talk about the fact that women need to train slightly differently, or women can benefit from training slightly differently and slightly lower impact sometimes.
Yeah, absolutely. So look, exercise can be a blessing and a curse, as with everything in life. You know, like things can be good and things can be bad. And 9 times out of 10, exercise is great. But there are times when it's not going to be the thing that you need to be doing. Exercise is, like it or lump it, is a stressor on the body. And if you're coming into an exercise regime where you're already at a very heightened state of stress, you're only going to elevate those stress levels with intense exercise, particularly things like HIIT training. So doing something like that might not be the most beneficial thing if you already feel like you're in a stressed or an anxious state, because you're just going to raise those cortisol levels. You don't really give the body an opportunity to come back down from it. And you're then in this constant heightened state of stress. And that can lead to things like, feeling really just anxious all the time, breathless, panic attacks, the works. It's really, not a nice feeling. You just mentioned about, doing exercise because you feel like you have to. And I think that's another thing that we as women can be really guilty of, is just feeling as though we have to do exercise but not actually enjoying it. And I think if you start to associate guilt with exercise, if the reason why you're going to the gym is because you feel guilty if you don't go, but no other reason, you don't look forward to it, you actually loathe it, then that's a really sad place to be. And that's something that I really want to try and change, is that like there are so many ways to achieve the same goal, and it doesn't have to be about killing yourself in the gym. There are so many different ways to go about being fit and healthy, and that is the most important thing. And it shouldn't be, guilt should never ever be your incentive. So I think that's definitely something. And touching on what you said hormonally, yeah, of course. I mean, we have periods and we go through that cycle each month, and I have some clients who are totally unaffected, and I have some clients who are completely affected, and they cannot do the same session that they would do any other time of the month when they're due on or when they're on. And so it's about being flexible with your approach to your training, rather than killing yourself and thinking, I just need to push through this, I can't not. Signs of overtraining are things like really poor recovery, when it impacts your sleep. So when your CNS is so fired up, so your central nervous system is so fired up that you then struggle to sleep at night. There's loads of different signs. So just general anxiety, and basically struggling to recover. So really bad DOMs and things like that. And if that is the case, we need to learn to put the brakes on. We need to learn to really and understand, that is a big red warning flag from our bodies saying, stop, I need a break, I need to rest. And if you override those signals, and you constantly override those signals, then you kind of fall into the trap of things like injuries and a complete burnout. And I think it's really, really important that we have a little bit more respect for our bodies. They're designed so incredibly well that they do give us these warning signals. They allow us, and they try and tell us when we need to stop, when we need to slow down. If you think about, if you pinch your arm, it hurts because it's painful. No one wants to be pinched. And if you think you're constantly doing that to your CNS system, that constant breaking it down, burning yourself out, it's that internal burnout that can lead to a whole host of problems. Amenorrhea, period stopping. These are all things that the body is trying to say, and it's basically just screaming, going, give me a rest. And we just need to be respectful of that. So if you do feel as though you are not recovering, your sleep is affected, you're stressed, you're working out because you are out of guilt, really try and take a rain check and just maybe have a bit of a break away, and then come back and revisit going back to exercise when you have a much more measured and calm approach to it, and looking at your training and seeing, okay, well, the HIIT was really making me feel anxious. Maybe I'm going to sub those out for Pilates or yoga or something that's a little bit more calming.
Yeah. I think HIIT has its place, but it's just become such the norm that people think they can do like a 30-minute HIIT workout every morning, Monday to Friday. Yeah. And that's like a great workout regime, and it's like, that is a lot of cardio.
Yeah, exactly. I think you're right. I think, and HIIT has been hijacked, because true HIIT, you should only be able to do like maximum 10 to 12 minutes of full, really, if you think about it, if you're at a percentage level, you're giving like 90% of your everything you've got. So 90%, you're completely emptying the tank. That shouldn't last for longer than, 10, 12 minutes. So to really go, at true high intensity level, it should be a lot shorter. And what people are doing is then elongating it. It's kind of like a bit more cardio, and it can be really, really fatiguing and not the best thing.
Yeah. So walk us through like an example of one of the workouts, as in, because I've had a bit of a peek, and in the magazine there was an example full body workout, wasn't there? So you've obviously dedicated time to each section. Do you want to quickly run through like what an Alice living workout looks like?
Yeah, so most of my workouts tend to focus around like a primary lift. I'll start off. So we always have mobility and activation to start with. So with all of my training sessions and with my own training, you want to get the body in as best place as possible for the specific training session ahead. So you do a lot of mobility work and activation beforehand so that you can open up new ranges or access new ranges. For example, if you're going to go and do a squat, you want to make sure that your hips are nice and mobile. You want to make sure that your glutes and your hamstrings are fired up. You want to make sure that you're in a good place to create that position, and then you can get as best access to as great a range as possible. So I do that initially. So there's things like foam rolling, and then sort of activation work that will be pre-session. Then you'll have your primary lift. So that's always like your biggest, your heaviest lift, your compound lift. And then we go on and do mainly supersets. So it'll be things like sort of like compound supersets, and then a lot of accessory work as well. So but thinking about unilateral work, so single leg work or single arm work. And then sometimes it finishes. There's optional conditioning in there as well. So you don't have to do it, but it is in there if you want to do it. There is also, I'm trying to think of anything else that we've done. The split is upper, lower, and then full body for the first 4 weeks, and then that changes at week 4, and then you get two upper and 2 lower each week, so 4 sessions, and then obviously on top of that the optional conditioning if you want to do that. So yeah, that's a little insight.
No, I wanted to get excited and ask you about it, because I really struggle with the whole muscle splits, and also making time for the mobility and the stretching and the foam rolling and activation. That is just something I don't do.
Yes, isn't it? You just want to go in and get it done.
Exactly. And I think again it goes back to the overtraining thing. I feel like this, and I know other women listening will feel like this. They feel like if they're not doing something that's really sweaty, then they're not interested, and it's like
sweat a reflection of a good workout, and it's really, really not. We all fall foul, definitely.
So I think it's important to make time for the mobility and activation stuff, so I'm really excited to get stuck into that. So moving on to the last quick round questions at the end that I ask every guest. So Put Yourself First is all about empowering women to put themselves first and make time for themselves. And with that being said, the first question is, what is your go-to self-care ritual that you always fall back on after a busy day?
Candles. I literally love candles. I've got like 3 going at the moment. I know obviously you can't see, but I love them, and I find them instantly calming.
Yeah, love it. Next question is, what is challenging you to leave your comfort zone and grow recently?
I think I would have to say just the way that the industry's going. I've really had to kind of rethink how I do things, what I'm doing, the change in algorithm and all that kind of stuff. It's really made me have to kind of sit back and be like, okay, what am I going to do, and have a bit more of a strategy to my career. So I would say that. Yeah,
good to know that like bigger bloggers are struggling with that as well.
Massively.
Yeah. Next question is, what are your goals for the next 6 to 12 months?
What are my goals? I am working on a massive project, which I'm going to be really annoying and say I can't talk about, but that's like taking up the majority of my time, which is really exciting. And then beyond that, I just want to keep working on my own training. I kind of sacrificed it a little bit because I've been so busy, but I'm really loving my training at the moment. So I've started doing a little bit more Olympic lifting, and I've been enjoying just like really enjoying my training basically, and also just to be happy. I think that's always my thing. Like, I never know what the next day is going to bring, and my job is so changeable, so I just always say to myself, as long as I am happy and I'm doing something that I enjoy, that's the most important thing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Last question then is, where can people go to find you online? Where can people go to get the app, all the other stuff? Let people know.
So my Instagram is at Alice Living, and there is an E in there, but it's pronounced Living. If you hit the link in my bio, you'll get the app. I'm on Twitter at the same and Facebook the same. So yeah, come check me out. Say hi.
Yeah. I'm going to download the app now, ready for when I get back from a holiday. Thanks so much for chatting to me today.
It was an absolute pleasure. Thank you so, so much for having me.
You're welcome. And thanks for watching and listening, everyone. I will see you again soon. Bye.